The love of writing motivates me actually. I just like writing. My first encounter would have been before I was actually able to write. I used to make up little stories and tell them to my mother, and my dear mother wrote them all down in an old exercise book. And in that sense, as she showed them to people, she was the first publisher. And so with that encouragement, I continue to pursue, to feel it's very worthwhile to be a writer. I was born in Edinburgh because my parents were there during the war, my father being a student in Edinburgh at the time, and my mother came to join him. It was all very romantic because she was cut off during the war, never knew whether she'd ever be able to see her parents again, but she did. And in 1948, the family returned to Singapore when I was just a very small girl. Through my mother's influence, I felt that theatre, the stage, is a marvelous communication medium. First play I wrote would have been in Standard 3. But, Standard 3, about 9 years old. The class teacher was asking us to do some end-of-term play, and the other students she says, I've got a story here about the fisherman and the king. The other students said, cannot. I went back and wrote this little playlet in my jotter book, and yes, it was okay, and so they performed it at the usual corner of the corridor kind of end-of-term class setting. Playwriting was perhaps as natural a medium to me as anything else. And as time goes on, I've found that it's rewarding in a different way. As you're writing it, you're in the zone, you're in the creative mode, and that is the real driving force. And the greatest moment is when you put first draft completed. And that is the highlight. It's like you've given birth to this baby. And after that, the rest, there's of course a long process of tidying and cleaning up and bringing it up from then on. And if it gets into the public sphere, that's very nice too. But still, it's the work completed is the greatest moment of one's life. I'm an ideas-driven writer. I don't say, here's a wonderful situation, how does it go develop, who are the characters? I rather say to myself, isn't it interesting that, for example, some women way of finding their self-worth is to dominate their family, and it turns into overprotectiveness, and which becomes a burden upon those who are being protected. And that's an idea, it's not a situation. And then I go on from there and say, what is the situation? Who are the people involved? How does it impact upon them? And so for me, the character and the situation are built up from the basic idea. To some extent, Emily of Emerald Hill was drawn from my grandmother, and it's a close enough portrait of grandmother that all the cousins say, yeah, Auntie Polly. But it's not a biographically true portrait. More often, I think I take reactions and, as it were, life solutions from the people, but I don't portray individuals so much. First of all, my advice to young writers would be, get a job which is not connected with writing to support you, so that you can go home and switch off from the day job and concentrate on your writing. Because if you do a job which is connected with writing, you'll burn out your writing gear, fuel, and have nothing to do with. For an arts person, I say, go for it while you're young, see how far you can go, and then be prepared to switch to a straight job for as long as it takes. If you haven't made your breakthrough while young, find a way to go to a straight job and see whether the straight job can give you enough time to pursue your hobby. So every artist will have to strike a balance between the straight job and the arts. Especially, of course, it's wonderful now in Singapore, the possibility of making a living in the arts. There is a possibility, and your parents are not going to blow a blood vessel if you say, I wish to study theatre studies or theatre production skills or whatever. So it's actually possible. It's unlikely it'll pay well. It's unlikely that you'll get rich. Some spheres you will, some of the arts technical skills, there's a very shortage of skilled technicians in certain fields. So it may be possible for young people to make a living in the arts.